Hi guys! I've been absent and I thought a nice way to get back involved in YouTube would be to make a video response to the 7 Witchy Questions tag that's going around, started by Ember Honeyraven, who I just discovered today, and she's a lot of fun and I'm really enjoying her channel. So I'll put a link below and you should check her out. But I've watched 3 or 4 other VRs to this video, and it's really interesting, so you should make a VR and let me know about it so I can watch and get to know you. Question number 1 is, what was your biggest magical disaster? So I start a lot of fires, as anybody in Foxfire can tell you. Foxfire, yeah, I start a lot of fires. I don't mean to, I don't really know how it happens. I'm generally a very cautious person. That was totally a lie. I'm not at all. Never mind, I don't know why I said that. I start a lot of fires, and I actually started a fire last night. We had August Eve, and I set a roll of paper towels on fire in the kitchen, and I didn't realize it was on fire, and Laura was shouting, "Fire, fire," and I didn't know what she was talking about. It just didn't register, and then I was running outside trying to open the back door and on fire, and anyway, fire cannot kill a dragon. So anyway, probably the biggest disaster would be my first fire, not because it was the biggest fire by any stretch, but because I was only 13 when it happened and I freaked out and it was just a little traumatizing. It was during my first spell, and what I'd done was I set a candle on a bookcase and it had a shelf right above it, and I don't know, I guess if I'd been brighter, or I was so overwhelmed with magic that I just wasn't thinking about what happens when you have something above a candle flame that's only a few inches up. And if you don't know, what happens is it heats up and then it catches on fire. So I turned around and my bookcase was on fire, and I was able to get it out, but it was very scary. And then my bookcase was charred and my room smelled like burning. And explaining that to my mother was a little awkward. So fire is what happens when you do that. Number 2, what do you wish someone had told you as a new witch? Everyone whose video I've watched so far has said something along the lines of they wish that somebody had told them that there wasn't a one right way to practice. And that's certainly true. And I just want to augment that a little bit, because I just really had this realization in the last year or so. In addition to the understanding that there is no one right way to practice, I wish that somebody had told me, I don't think anybody did, that no matter what you decide to practice, and no matter the hoops you jump through, and the initiations you collect, and the successful covens you run, and whatever, like, it doesn't matter what you choose and how well you do it, somebody else is always going to think that you're full of shit. It doesn't matter if you're, like, the Queen Gardnerian in the universe, who does everything correctly and whatever, like, somebody is going to think you're full of shit. You're not going to make everybody happy. There's always going to be somebody out there who's doing it realer and more authentically and whatever than you are. It doesn't matter. So no matter how you decide to do things, no matter what techniques you employ, no matter who your teachers are, no matter if you figured out how to make yourself levitate and you can actually change your eye color, it doesn't fucking matter. Somebody's going to tell you that you're full of shit. You're not going to impress people. And so that can't be the thing that matters to you. I get people who send me seeker letters sometimes, and they want the real version of Wicca, right? They're interested in Gardnerian Wicca because they want real Wicca. And that's nice, and I get it, because I've been there. But the reality is that, well, there are realer ways to be a Gardnerian too. And you never get away from that suspicion that there's more, or there's better, or there's other, or whatever. That never goes away, and somebody is always calling you names. So the only way to be happy is to do the thing because that's what makes you fulfilled, and it's what you want to do. If you're going into something because you think that it's the realest and most authenticest thing ever, you're going to be disappointed and you're going to quit. You just are. Or you're just going to be miserable. So yeah. Number 3, biggest witchy pet peeves. 2 of them. 1 is when people mistake Gwen Thompson's poem Read of the Witchy for the Wiccan Read. Usually it's someone makes a video and it's like the long version of the Wiccan Read. No, that was a poem that appeared in Green Egg magazine in 1975, and I know the authorship is a little bit dubious, right? Gwen Thompson claimed that she got it from a grandmother or something like that. I don't know, she did the Alex Sanders thing. But that poem is not the Wiccan Read. It's not Wiccan dogma, and it's not in any official BOS anywhere. It just isn't. At least, not that I've ever seen. So the Wiccan Read is actually those last few lines, and it harm none, do as ye will, which again is not actually part of traditional Wicca until late 60s at the earliest. Like, the Wiccan Read has no place in Foxfire. It has no place, whatever. Read of the Witchy is a different document than the Wiccan Read. So anytime you see the long version of the Wiccan Read explained or whatever, it's not the Wiccan Read, it's Read of the Witchy by Gwen Thompson. 1975, yeah. Second pet peeve is when people correct other people, which again is like, that's correct other people for the sake of being dicks, right? Not because they actually care about somebody else's progress. And it's especially irritating when it's an outsider doing the correcting. And this happens in BTW circles. It happens all the time on Amber and Jet. It happens like Tumblr. This is what the Tumblr Wicca hashtag is for people arguing over who's really Wiccan. And what's fascinating is that none of the people engaging in that argument are actually traditional Wiccans. They're never, like, that argument about, like, oh, well, you're not really Wiccan because in order to be Wiccan, you have to be initiated into a Gardnerian or Alexandrian group, and blah, 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 that wasn't you. And the people saying that are never actually Guards or Alexandrians. They're always just, it's always just another 17-year-old who thinks they know more than all the other 17-year-olds. It's always an outsider, and I don't really get why that is. My experience has been that actual traditional Wiccans tend to just not participate in those conversations at all, because they don't actually, you're not going to change anybody's mind doing that. It usually will just give you a headache and ruin your afternoon. I don't participate in those kinds of debates, and anyway, so yeah, usually the people going around on YouTube or Tumblr or whatever, and they're going, well, you're not really Wiccan because you need to be initiated, blah, blah, blah. They're not even initiates themselves, so I don't know why they care. It just perplexes me. Let's see. Number 4. When did you first know that there was something different about your spirituality, or that this was your path or whatever? The truth is that I don't have one of those like coming home, profound realization that I'd always been different kind of stories. I actually think that my ending up Wiccan was happenstance. The work that I've done in religious studies and the amount of time that I've spent recently amongst particular kinds of Christians has made me believe that had I been exposed to some of these other traditions when I was 12 or 13, I could just as easily have ended up belonging somewhere else. I wasn't raised with any kind of religious background. I didn't go to church. I wasn't around Christians. You know, I don't have a spiritual background. There was no conversion experience for me. Wicca appealed to me as a young teenager, and that's the route that I went down. I think that if I had been taken to a church like the one I'm doing my ethnographic work on, if I'd been taken to a church like that when I was 12 or 13, I could probably just as easily have been an evangelical. So I think that this being my path is as much the result of chance as it is any kind of like magical woo sort of divine intervention, whatever. I'm not particularly mystical about my understanding of why I'm Wiccan and why I'm on the path I'm on. Number 5. These are more fun. The other ones were a little more like heated, and I spoke more than I meant to. Number 5. Best witchy book you've ever read. That's really hard. Maybe, right, because it depends on where you are. Like, I remember thinking that Teen Witch was the best book, and I just, Oh man, I still have really fond memories of that first time reading Teen Witch. Not because Teen Witch isn't a horrible book, but because I remember those feelings when I first discovered this stuff and it just changed my life and whatever. Like, I will always think about Teen Witch being like very fondly. So it's hard to pick a book and say that it's the best I've ever read, because all of them, the good ones, evoke particular emotions, or sometimes the really horrible ones evoke particular emotions. I think that, let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Let's go with the Bast novels by Rosemary Edghill, just because I read them after I, had a pretty solid understanding of what Wicca was, and I don't think I could have appreciated them without that, but the Bast novels, it's a series of short novels, and then there are a few short stories that you can dig up in various anthologies, and the protagonist is a Gardnerian high priestess, and she sort of accidentally finds herself solving crimes, and she's sassy and funny, and you can appreciate the books if you're not Wiccan, because she's basically writing about the New York occult scene. So if you know anything about various kinds of occult groups, particularly in the New York area, these books are hysterical. There's a lot of inside jokes. And, they're sexy and they're fun and there's mystery and there's magic and whatever. But it's very realistic. Those are a lot of fun. So, yes. Number 6 is the best witchy movie or TV show. I've never seen a witchy TV show that I really liked. Unless we want to talk about Buffy, which really wasn't. I mean, that was kind of a peripheral storyline, I think. Movie, definitely The Craft. I love The Craft. I think Ember Honeyraven nailed it. The Craft is the best witch movie. It just is. It's awesome. I mean, if you want to stretch it, we could talk about The Wicker Man, because I guess it's witchy, but it's not witchcraft specific. Christopher Lee version, of course. I don't even know what happened with that whole Nicolas Cage fiasco. But The Craft, just straight up. And what's funny to me about The Craft is you can always kind of tell, like, what sort of witch someone is by their feelings about the craft, right? Like, a lot of newbies are just, like, really offended that anybody ever made that horrible movie that totally just portrays witchcraft as being dangerous, when it's so not. It's about loving the earth and the mother goddess, right? And many of the rest of us are just like, oh no, this movie is fucking badass, because it's for marginalized girls, like, taking control over their lives. And there's some problematic shit in The Craft, right? Like, why does the poor one have to be crazy, right? And, like, the black one ends up being mean, and like the really marginalized girls get screwed, and then it's the rich white one from San Francisco who comes in, and she ends up being, like, the one who gets to keep her magic powers. Like, that's fucked up. But it's such a good movie. That movie is all about being a teenage girl I don't know, I resonate with that movie. And it's awesome. Number 7, have you ever doubted your craft? And what did you do about it? Again, I don't know that this question works so well with me, just because I didn't have prior religious experiences. I would say that doubt is a natural state. And I would say that if you don't deal with doubt, you're probably not challenging yourself or pushing yourself very hard. I do all kinds of stuff that I'm pretty sure isn't going to work, or I'm pretty sure isn't real, or it might not be real, but let's see if it's real. I'm doing stuff like that all the time. And if, like, that's a kind of doubt. It's not the kind of doubt that leaves me alone in my bedroom in the dark, like, crying about the meaning of life. I don't do that anymore. But it's doubt. And I think that doubt can be fun, and I think doubt can challenge us. And I think that all thoughtful, serious people wrestle with doubt. I think it's how we grow. So yeah, I doubt all the time. And my solution to doubt is to do it anyway and accept that whatever it is might be wrong, or it might not work, or whatever the thing is, and be okay with abandoning it if it is. Yeah. So there, 7 questions and a video that's longer than I thought it would be. I hope everyone is well and stuff.